Welcome to This Week I'm Learning. It's a podcast between three friends, and we've all kind of got different interests. So each week, or every 2 weeks, still haven't decided the schedule quite yet, we're going to basically introduce a topic to one another that we've either researched or have cultivated on our own, and teach each other about it, and hopefully teach you something along the way. It can be anything encompassing technology, travel, politics, motorcycles, that
fake or
nasty
real
heat that is, the nasty heat that is the wasteland down south, or basically whatever else we want to talk about.
Always hating on Arizona. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, well, it's too damn hot.
Could be talking about Australia. Who knows?
Yeah, that's true. But I am your ramblomatic host, Brandon Vader, and I am into technology, motorcycles, cars, lots of varied topics, science in general, space, Star Trek. So Cody, what about you?
Okay, time to save you. Hello, my name's Cody Stratman. My passions are mostly travel, Southeast/East Asian politics, as to why Taiwan is Taiwan and China and not China at the same time, stuff like that. That's weird and strange. The whole place is strange, but it's cool. Technology, I'm still into it, but it's waning slightly for travel. Games, hiking, video editing, cameras. I still suck at photography, but learning more, so who knows? Anyway, save me, Colton.
Oh, it's my turn to save? I love playing the hero. Hello, name is Colton. I am also into tech, not on the waning side, more on the waxing side, honestly. So I also enjoy music, gaming, of course. I do enjoy a little science, little drama, little. Well, politics is interesting to me. Honestly, the world is interesting to me. But those are the main topics. So that's me.
I am the Tech Pirate on YouTube, as well as Drac Vader on Twitch TV. So you can catch some random videos there. I also do some occasional videos under just Brandon.Vader on YouTube as well. That's more, I'm doing a complete rebuild on a 1940 HN White Gladiator clarinet.
That's not a motorcycle.
No, it's not. And then the Brandon.Vader is where you'll also see motorcycle videos that I have way too many hours of footage, and I'm trying to learn DaVinci Resolve while beating my head against the monitor. And Psycho, where can we find, God damn.
Anyway,
Cody, where can we find you?
It should be obvious by this point that we've known each other for quite a time.
How long have we? How long have the three of us actually known each other?
Oh, God.
Let's see. I met Drac or Brandon or whatever. Everybody has two names because we game together. You're just gonna have to get used to it. It is what it is. Anyway, I met him my sophomore year in high school when I was escaping a terrible competitive team sports class, not because I don't like team sports, but because I didn't like the people who were in it. So I went into band. And I was like, well, I'm going to play Freelancer on my laptop. And he was like, oh, that's cool.
Yes.
Oh.
I was so envious of that laptop of yours.
Inspiron
8000.
No, 8200.
Well,
it was like that thick. Well, you can't see how thick it is, but
compare it to your nose or your mouth. Like if it was a cookie, how many cookies would it be?
I'd have to chomp pretty chunky laptop.
And Colton, I met.
Also known as Seeker.
Yes, he finds things. No, he just searches for them. He never finds them.
Yes,
he searches for
it's all about the journey, Mr.
He's not
Traveler.
the finder.
True.
He's not the finder. He is the seeker.
So we met, 2015?
When did
No,
Star?
wait,
when
no,
did,
not 15. It was like 14 or 13.
when did Star
or 12.
Citizen start getting interesting? It's right around that
Uh,
time.
well, that depends on who you ask, because
When did it?
2012.
I told you guys about it. It was July 4th. It was either 4th or 6th at 2013, because I remember this because I was like, wow, what is this? And then I went to Timbers and I had to tell everybody about it at Timbers, including the cop that randomly walked in. So yeah,
Timbers is a bar in Gunnison,
Oh
Colorado.
yeah.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
like an outside to it. Man, I miss
So basically,
the bar.
that's kind of where we all met. I joined this little twosome here when they were working for a local ISP, internet service provider in Gunnison, Colorado. A little, I call it a podunk town, middle of nowhere, cold,
Yep.
close to Blue Mesa
Ran-
Lake, which is Reservoir, excuse me. Yeah, it's,
Ranching and resorts. That's what we have here.
And a college.
yeah, that's when
Well,
it
and a
really.
college.
So pretty good parties, you know.
Yeah, so it was right around that time I really started to know these two gentlemen who basically helped me get into tech and computers and really become a PC master race instead of a console plebe. So super fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Too many years. That's all I'm gonna say.
But anyway,
Not that
to
we're old. We're not old.
circle back, my YouTube channel is Striving to Fail, or Striving for Failure, something
To fail.
like that. Yeah, Striving to Fail. Okay, clearly I'm not the
Already,
only one. That,
already
yeah.
working. It's already
Man,
working.
it's awesome. We're doing a good job here. Where I'm doing right now mostly international travel videos, which are terrible because my footage sucks. But I'm getting better at editing, so I can edit some bad footage together pretty well. So, yeah, that's me.
So I also have some outside interests besides this podcast. I do have a Twitch channel, Seeker4761. Check it out. Play all these games and also stream a lot of the content, a lot of games that I play with our guild, which is called Dark Horizon. I also have a YouTube channel, same thing, Seeker4761, where basically take the gaming footage of mostly fails and turn it into YouTube. Who knows? We'll see what happens.
Hey, some of the most amusing things are failures.
Exactly. It's also how you learn your most important lessons.
Striving to, of course.
Yes. All right. Well, let's get on to today's show. Cody is going to teach us about travel in the near future. May or may not be terrible.
And it turns out Brandon is going to teach us about a camera that might be able to tell if you can get your panties in a bunch. Sounds saucy.
And Colton is apparently going to teach us. There are a couple programmer/musicians who are creating every melody and are copywriting them. That sounds wonderful. I can't wait. Oh my god.
Cool.
Jeez. Well, since I think we had said that Cody's was going to be the long one, Colton, why don't you take yours away? What is up with? I'm hoping they're open source copywriting them rather than being copyright trolls.
So it does sound worse than it actually is. Basically, as Cody iterated, a couple of programmer musicians named Damien Rail and Noel Rubin. Can't remember. I didn't write it down exactly where they worked. But basically, they have an interest in, obviously, programming and music. So basically what they're doing is they're creating a hard drive full of all the 8-note, 12-beat note combinations within an octave. So, yeah. Basically, the doe, a deer, a female deer, and all that, that's creating every possible combination within one octave. They did so to attempt to prevent copyright lawsuits among musicians. So a big thing that, especially with modern music, basically different musicians have been suing each other, saying they had their music or a certain melody stolen in terms of. So it's basically the idea from, according to these guys, is to I guess if they copyright all of it, and eventually they're still in the process of doing this, to be clear. If they copy it all down, make it copyrighted, and then put it out into the public domain, theoretically that would limit some of those lawsuits. At least that's the idea. So it's kind of it's something. There's a lot of people are saying there's not a whole lot of legal merit behind it if something were to happen. But it's just kind of like it's basically a couple of nerds and musicians who are putting out their version of art. Like it's an artistic expression is what this is. Basically what they did, they used an algorithm to brute force. They used a brute force method to actually find all these melodies, because I think they said there's like 68.7 billion different possibilities within these 8 octaves, 12 notes. It's all over the traditional octave, middle C, which is the basic middle of the piano.
So it should take an AMD EPIC system about 12 minutes to come up with all of that,
give or take. Yeah, they found it already. The problem is they're having issues putting this data into a format that can be copyrighted specifically. Estimates have been anywhere between 100 and 200 zettabytes of data to do this patent right.
Whoa!
So it's very expensive to do for one thing, and again, it's more of an artistic thing. So it's kind of cool. Kind of interesting melding between the normally, I guess you'd say, cold hard calculating programmer with a musician who's a bit more free flowing, and let's just make art. So it's a very cool marriage between the two. So I thought that was very interesting.
Well, I mean, really, at its essence, music is math, as much as some people hate that idea. So
totally.
I could definitely see the link here.
What's interesting with... Oh, go ahead.
What kind of concerns me about this is, couldn't these guys easily go, well, crap, this is a lot of money to do this. Let's just copyright it for our own good.
That is a possibility. And again, looking at their past and what they actually want to do with it, it's probably going to be artistic. Okay. That's fingers crossed, of course. But...
I'm just being negative. It's fine.
Well, I mean, with copyright law, there's more than because you can technically create something that's already been copyrighted, and if you could prove you had it was totally independent from the other thing, and you have no connection to it in any way, you haven't heard it, haven't seen it, haven't researched it, you can still keep it, I guess you could say. Copyright law is a lot. It's kind of weird. I mean, especially with music, it's because there's only a limited amount of notes and different rhythms and stuff. There's only so much you can really do before it becomes just noise. So there is technically a limit, and it's not really set in stone. So hopefully, at least right now, there's no real possibility later down the road to, I guess, own all the music. They're not Disney, but then again, Disney may get involved, and they could probably change the law if they had to. So who the hell knows on that?
Yeah,
we'll buy that database from you.
All the music shall belong to us.
Disney is going to be like
Disney.
Yeah, it's going to be like the Demolition Man Taco Bell of the future of music.
Yeah, pretty much. So interesting. I thought it was cool. It's still a developing thing, and it's going to take who knows how many thousands of dollars to actually make it happen. And if they actually do put out a full copyright, it'll be interesting. Stay tuned. Maybe we'll talk about it in a future episode.
Yeah.
All right. So, Colton, I believe you are going to tell us about Brandon's thing.
I suppose I could totally do that. We'll figure it out. So, Brandon.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Well, how about you tell us about that camera and them panties? You know what? You really have me interested with that second part. So tell me. What's going on?
Okay, so do you guys remember, it would have been back when we were in high school, Sony made the Handycam. And because it could see in infrared, it didn't have the infrared filter, it was able to see through some very flimsy garments. And you'd see, panty lines and bra lines. Do you guys remember that at all?
I remember some sort of weird article about it, about James Bond, and a little bit, very minorly.
So I remember that being kind of a big thing. Like, I want to say it was right towards the end of my high school years, where that was kind of the big, oh my God, cameras are going to be able to see through your clothes, and it's going to be a thing. And then it all kind of went away. So, fast forward to a few weeks back with OnePlus 8 Pro's color filter. So they have a special camera that is partly photochromatic, meaning it is not a monochromatic, but it's not a polychromatic. It is somewhere in between, so it's more muted colors with black and whites kind of highlighted a little bit. And what they say about it is that it's inspired by unique color tones used by professional photographers. OnePlus innovatively uses a filter lens on the fourth camera, which processes light differently to generate a surreal image with a unique color tone. Apparently, there's no IR filter on that camera, so it has been shown to be able to pass through and see through certain plastics, but also anything that's not UV resistant, like light clothing. So it's going back to the Sony Handycam days, where you could theoretically see through lighter, thinner clothing material. And it's funny, I was curious if there was such thing as UV invisible clothing. There is a whole line of bathing suits offered by a particular U.S. company.
Why?
So that you can tan through them. So that you can go to the beach and you won't have tan lines.
Yeah.
Oh, that's no fun.
Yeah.
Damn technology ruining all the fun.
So, OnePlus has come out, I believe, earlier this week, and said that they are going to disable the color filter option until they are able to remove the UV sensitivity with software.
Oh yeah, that'll stop people.
Oh yeah. Ugh.
Yeah, I mean, because you couldn't just go onto any of the Android Tinker forums like XDA and just get the original package and patch it back in. But I just think it's interesting that we have forgotten as a society that this technology already exists. It's already out there and available. It's just this is the first time that it's in a phone, which I guess is the big issue.
Yeah, I was going to say there's the airport scanners. I forget what the exact technology that they use, but they could definitely
millimeter
see.
wave.
Yeah, they could definitely see through your clothes. So as soon as we get millimeter wave phones, now granted they're in a big booth. Yeah, but this is coming, people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But like, there's some really interesting pictures that this phone has taken that have been posted up on the internet where it can see through black remotes.
I was like, what were you searching, Brandon?
Yes.
Are they at a certain hub?
No. This is on Lilliputian and The Verge that I've seen some of these pictures while I mean, you know me. I change phones about every year. I'm really trying not to. I've been really happy with the Note 10 Plus. But I like to see, is there enough new innovation out there that I really need a new phone, or not yet? And, the market's kind of stagnant. There's not really, except for some of these phones with the 102 megapixel cameras and stuff like that, and even those are more gimmicky than anything else. Same thing with this this color filter camera. It's a gimmick. It's to get you to jump up to the next one when there's not really a reason to jump ship from what you got. But I don't know. I thought it was kind of cool that you could see through like some controllers, and they had a phone that I guess had an older phone that was UV invisible on the back, and you could see into the components. Just, it's interesting. It's just funny how people are freaking out because
privacy.
You might be able to see someone's panties, or if they're not wearing panties.
Felt it a bunch up then. It's terrible. Bad. Go home.
You are home.
Oh, all right. I'm already here.
But as a twofer, you were saying zettabytes of information for that music project. So the highest capacity NVMe M.2 drive up until recently has been 4 terabytes. Sebarant just announced that they have an 8 terabyte drive ready to go that is going to be coming out shortly. But does anyone want to take a guess on how much the 4 terabyte version costs?
Of an NVMe?
See. Yeah, I just bought a 2 terabyte drive, so I'm gonna guess the 4 terabyte would be about $500.
$760 for the 4 terabyte. No pricing has been announced for the 8 terabyte, but I would be surprised if it's anything less than $1,500.
Huh.
For the 8 terabyte, I would... No,
the
I'd
4
probably
terabyte,
even more,
that
honestly.
actually sounds pricey. I gotta take a look and see how much my 2 terabyte was, because I'm pretty sure it was like 200 and something for the...
Yeah, but it's lower density silicon. So they're having to use a lot higher density silicon.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Just interesting twofer. Just something I was looking at earlier today going, ooh, yes, that would go great in my desktop. I wouldn't have to uninstall anything ever again.
Be careful with that. Be careful. Lest you pull a Bill Gates.
Well, yeah. Okay. For the next few years.
Yeah, no shit. So how much is a zettabyte? 1,000 terabytes, or is it more? Or is it a petabyte? I can't remember.
Petabyte.
Zettabyte.
1,000.
Petabyte. Zettabyte.
Because I remember at QuakeCon they were talking about a pedo server, and it wasn't what we. Yeah.
Just we're going off the rails.
Already demonetized.
Yeah.
We weren't monetized to begin with. We might as well
just go into it. Go into it.
Exactly.
All right. So, Cody, travel in the near future, terrible or not terrible?
We'll see. So basically, the short answer is nobody really knows concretely. There, the end. The long answer. And
thanks for the first episode. Oh.
See you guys later.
I hope you learned something.
The more concrete answer to that is in the near future, we're going to experience some kind of oddities / inconveniences / conveniences, actually. So, for instance, when you make your way to the airport right now, well, not right now, but in the near future, you're going to have to check in a little bit earlier, so inconvenient. Then you're going to have to probably wear a mask at the airport, depending on the airport. LAX is already trying to institute this. Many of the airlines right now actually are requiring masks on the plane. So once you're at the airport, you'll notice that there's a ton more hand sanitizer stations around. So you'll have those at your disposal, which are good to have.
Yeah.
And then security. Here's kind of an interesting change. So the big negative that I first see about this is you're no longer able to keep your food in your bag. So which is going to be actually kind of super inconvenient because the airlines aren't actually going to provide food on shorter flights for a while. So you're going to want to bring your own food, but now you have to actually have it scanned separately. When you hand the TSA personnel, you're not going to actually hand them your phone or a boarding pass to scan. They're just going to scan it while it's in your hand. And then when you go through, you're going to actually put your phone, keys, wallet in your bag rather than in the tub. Then maintaining spacing as you go through there. This also is going to affect lounges as well. Matter of fact, I was just researching because as soon as things open up, I want to leave my house. I don't want to be here anymore. But I am here because I'm a good person and I don't want to get people sick. Anyway, I don't know if I'm sick, and that's the problem with this whole thing, is nobody knows. It's kind of a thing that keeps going on, transitioning to other forms of media and stuff, is nobody knows what is really happening because you don't know if you're sick. Anyway, I'm getting off on this.
Well, a lot of random. There's a lot of data coming in. It's hard to analyze it when you're inside the actual data set. I mean, they're going to be studying this whole thing for however many years. Years.
Yeah, and that's the problem, is you don't know, like, a lot of people just don't show symptoms, so, anybody could have COVID right now without testing. They don't know. Another thing that they've been talking about rolling out is the idea of immunity passports, which may or may not come to fruition. Delta talked about them, but there's no real proven thing right now that says, as of this day, that says that once you have the virus, that you are immune to it forever. So again, unknown. It's a theme. And then, so let me look at my notes here, since this is like a huge multi-part thing. Yeah. So the lounge, I was going to say, the lounges right now, the only one that I could find on my fake trip that I was planning was an Alaska Airlines lounge in Seattle at D Concourse is still apparently open. So if you're flying through Seattle, D is still open. If you're flying on First or have a lounge pass or got
That's a free Twill tip. If you're flying through Seattle.
Travel tip.
Yeah. If you're
Twill
flying
travel tip.
Exactly.
If you're flying through Seattle, hit the D.
Yep. Hit the D with your Pano server.
Hell. Mercy.
But what's interesting is this is also going to affect plane turnaround times, because it's going to take them longer to sanitize the aircraft. So like the 30-minute turnaround time of let's park, shuffle everybody out of the plane, wait, shuffle everybody on the plane is no longer going to be a thing. It's not really going to be problematic for right now because there's less people flying. Right now there's like 5% of the average amount of people fly, or like compared to last year. If last year was 100% of people flying, then this year it's 5% of that. So we're seeing a huge decrease, which is obvious, even though the news is making a huge deal out about it. Because, for instance, I can't fly for multiple reasons. One, it's probably not a great idea. Two, everywhere I would go, I'd be subjected to a 14-day quarantine. Three, through my work, I can't even use leave to travel right now. So,
Really?
Oh no, the guy that HR guy has basically said you can't use leave. It could be challenged, but whatever. I don't have
Plus
time.
it's for like it's another rant.
Yeah, exactly. How much I hate our HR guy. It can be a rant on its own. Many hour long rant. Anyway, whatever.
So many hours.
But there's multiple reasons why I can't fly. So when the news goes like, airlines are only at 5%, like, this is obvious. This isn't like really news. It's because nobody A wants to fly or B can fly. But anyway, so the whole 30-minute turnaround time isn't going to be a big deal for a little bit until a lot more people are flying, until we're closer to like 80% of back to normal. So I don't see that being a big issue.
Now, out of curiosity, and I mean, it's probably going to depend on each airline, but having worked in that industry, I wonder if it's going to fall on the ground crew to help disinfect the aircraft, or if that's going to be
Flight
something
attendants
flight
too.
attendant.
I was going to say, I wonder if there's going to be a little bit of a boom in that. I mean, hasn't there been a shortage in flight attendants, or am I thinking of something different?
There was a pilot shortage.
Yeah.
I don't
That's
know
what
if
I'm
there's
thinking. Okay.
Now there's no longer a pilot shortage. So
There's a flight shortage.
yeah, there's a flight shortage.
There's a customer shortage.
So the other part about this is they're changing the way that you board on your plane. So it no longer matters if you're an elite or you're first class or whatever. They're boarding strictly back to front, which a lot of people say that they should do to begin with.
I'm gonna say I'm okay with that change. That's fair.
Okay, so interesting tidbit.
Let the first class just relax in the seats in the lobby. They'll be fine. They'll be fine.
Honestly, like they should, in normal situation, what I would recommend is just keeping the first class people at the lounge until like 10 minutes before they're actually needed, then being like, hey, go. Yeah.
Well, actually, now that I think about it, with domestic flights, first class, there's maybe 8 seats total at most. Maybe I'm sure between the bigger locations,
it
there's
depends
probably a lot
on the
more.
aircraft. So if it's a like 737-900, it's 4 rows of 4, so 16 seats.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
so I guess
it's,
I
it's
guess
12,
they could
12 to 16.
Sorry, I'm kind of cutting into your rant because that's actually interesting for some reason. Yeah, I guess they could still keep the first class let them go in first, and then like from the peasants, let them go back to front. So
but the problem with that is you would end up with, on most aircraft, there are some aircraft that do have a separate entrance for first class, and then there's an entrance behind that first class cabin that would go to the rest. On aircraft like that, it would be fine.
I was going to say domestically, probably not much of an issue. Internationally, that's a whole different.
Yeah.
It's a whole other can of worms.
Right,
single aisle versus dual aisle aircraft. Narrow body versus wide body is basically what you're talking about. Narrow body aircraft. Yeah, it makes sense to board relatively back to front. Although that's not actually the most efficient method to board a plane.
Middle out.
It's actually
put them on the plane, not in the plane, on the plane.
On top, yeah.
On top
just
of the
strap
plane.
them on the plane. Just fly.
It's called extra.
No, it's great because on the aircraft, they don't even have to. Everywhere could be a nonstop flight.
Man,
just fly long enough.
Our aircraft got really light, really fast when we took off. That's so great. Technology is amazing. Not a lot of repeat customers.
Fuel burns better, man. The people who are pissed off at the airline industry over using too much fuel and CO2 emissions will be happier because as they're flying, it'll actually lose less or lose weight, so they won't have to use as much fuel.
Each company now has a new marketing thing. We could say 75% of 25% of our passengers make it every time. So.
On time every time, 25% of the time.
Anyways, sorry. Random fun tangent, but...
So back to the original tangent is the Mythbusters did this experiment many years ago about the most efficient way to board a plane, and it was completely random, was actually one of the fastest method is just Southwest basically is to let everybody run on the plane. Now I hate that idea.
Chaos.
But there's actually a better method than that, and there was this one guy, I forget the YouTube video, but it's this crazy I wish I remembered the name of the YouTube video, but it would be 47 different boarding groups.
The diagonals?
Yeah, it's basically go in and basically it's really weird. It's crazy, and people would never be able to follow it. Uh, but it's
You
kind of
can't
like
even.
a version of back to front, but with different boarding groups for window, middle, and aisle at the same time. So again, there would be a ton of boarding groups. Anyway,
So
back
basically,
to
sorry.
sorry.
So
Go ahead.
just to clarify, because now I'm curious, because now I got to find that YouTube video. So it'd be you do all the windows first, essentially, then you do the middle, and then you do the inner,
It's
or
not it's kind of like that, but it's even different than that because there's still a back to front methodology of that. It's super
It-
wacky.
huh?
If it's the one I remember watching, it's like you have the back 3 rows, you have the windows board, and then you bring in the windows for the next one up as you're boarding the middles for that back row, and you
Yep.
kind of like
Yeah, it basically
Kinda like
pyramid it up.
fills like that all the
Huh.
way. So
Yeah,
like if this is the aircraft,
it's
it goes like it's yeah.
Well,
But again,
we all
the
know
amount of
people
boarding
are just
groups are
known for
crazy.
being patient and
Oh yeah,
kind and
especially at an airport.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
that is totally when humanity is at its best. So
so
sounds like a frontier thing. I don't know.
okay, back to the original story of this. So boarding is going to be dramatically different just to reduce contacts. Now, the positive out of all of this is a lot of airlines are blocking off middle seats for the time being. So,
Ooh, spread eagle. Oh, sorry. It's kind of.
Two armrests.
yep, exactly. Now, there's this weird other seat design for the back peasantry where the middle seat, so you've got like the seats, the middle seat is actually faced the other way. The thing that sucks about this idea is you're going to have to actually sacrifice seat width, in order to get the plastic in there for the middle seat to sit backwards. It's this really weird, like, middle seat pod backwards. And also, it's going to really suck for couples that are like, honey, I want to sit next to you. Except for there's this, like, big box in the way that's the middle seat.
I wonder how long it's going to be before we're just, they just push you in a seat, strap you in, put an oxygen mask on you, and then there's like another group that's seated upside
Kind
down.
of Tetris in like this.
And
You got to bend at a 90-degree angle so we can come in like this.
Well,
oh, your legs are too long. We're going to just kind of strap those in a little bit tighter.
It's going to cost you extra. Can you, like, lose a couple inches there? Thanks.
They would do that if you could actually evacuate the plane like that in a reasonable amount of time. That's one of the only things that keeps airlines from doing that. And actually, in
Damn
2018,
safety regulations.
Well, in 2018, they actually regulated a minimum seat pitch. I forget what that number is, but they did that. So anyway, after you finally board, you've got your like spacious middle seat. Now, not all airlines are doing this, and again, this is only going till like June 30th. So at that time, they'll reassess. Now, the problem with this is that airlines can't really make money with this setup because they need to be about 77% load capacity in order to make money, and when you cut a third of the seats out, you're not
Even with the fuel prices where they're at right now?
Even with the fuel prices.
Hmm.
It's bad because the airlines have lost a ton of business travelers because none of the businesses want to take liability for sending their people out to go do business meetings or whatever, because now they're responsible for the health of those people.
Yeah, that's actually one of the other, like, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. It's just a thing. Teleconferencing is probably going to be sticking around because companies are seeing they can be as productive, if not more productive, with using teleconferencing and stuff instead of using the business.
So did you guys see? I should have made this my topic. Twitter has told employees that are currently working at home that
Stay at home.
working at
Stay
home is
home.
now okay.
That's
Like,
actually
that it is now a permanent thing. There are some exceptions to some of the IT support staff, but for the most part, Twitter is now going to be a work at home company.
well, same with like Facebook and all the other big giants like that, Google, and that's definitely going to affect the airline industry.
Have they actually announced that yet, though? I know there were Apple was talking about some of their developers would get to stay at home, but I hadn't heard anything from Google or Facebook yet.
Well, yeah, it goes back to what Cody's saying. That's going to be a lot of lost revenue for the airlines. I mean,
yeah,
And I don't foresee that being permanent for all businesses because there's a certain human connection that we're missing by not being
corporations
physically connected to.
They don't care. Corporations.
Who's missing? Who's missing that?
Okay.
There
Yeah,
are
I should
people.
say-
There
As
are
somebody
people
who
that
is
are
extroverted, this is driving me crazy. Like, okay, this goes back to the whole, like, argument, like, if you take a baby and the baby's born, but nobody touches the baby, like, there was a lot of stories on how the baby would die because nobody touched the baby.
So you're saying baby needs touched?
Baby needs touched.
That's a callback to an earlier part, ain't it?
Oh, just tying it all together.
See, everything's connected, man. Everything is connected.
Exactly.
So how else is travel going to be different, Cody?
So right now we've got situations where if you want to travel from, and this is mostly internationally, if you want to travel from point A to point Y, you have to connect at various locations. So right now it's fairly difficult. So if I want to fly from, Anchorage to Bangkok, I can't fly through Hong Kong because Hong Kong is closed to transiting passengers right now. Singapore is closed to transiting passengers right now. So I would have to potentially route through Tokyo, Narita, which actually I'm not sure if they're open for My point is you're going to have to really pay attention to where you're transiting at the moment, which airlines technically shouldn't let you book a ticket that you would transit through one of those places, but it might cause people to have to be a little bit more informed about where they're going and where they're transiting through, rather than just going to Expedia or something and going, book ticket. Oh, why is this ticket not booking? Why does this ticket say this flight is going to take, 28 days for me to get from here to there? Oh, wait, I've got these terrible connections somewhere because the middleman is closed. Now, once you get to your destination, you're either going to be quarantined for 14 days, which means why bother having a vacation for the most part. Although certain places have unique solutions to this. For instance, some countries are actually doing rapid testing once you arrive. So as soon as you get off the plane, you get things shoved in your nose, take it out, and then tested. And a few hours later, you're allowed to leave the airport. And then the other option is so Thailand is actually doing this where they're trying to open up the islands first because they could control travel on the islands easier. Now, my question is, then they have to pretty much watch everybody's traveling on the islands, not just tourists, not just foreigners, because, you go to Koh Samui or something, you could get the bartender sick or whatever. So who knows? Then there's also this thing that they're doing where they're talking about opening specific hotels so like quarantine at a fancy hotel where you go to the airport, you have this arranged for the hotel first. The hotel then has to manage your transportation from the airport all the way to the hotel and verify that you don't leave the hotel during that time. So, I mean, for like a really nice resort, if you're the resorty
Yeah, they
type,
could already do that now.
yeah. I mean, you could do that now. It's, if you've got the money, then sure. I could foresee people doing that anyway. So, yeah, that's kind of interesting. But honestly, at the end of the day, once all of this is, we've got a vaccine or whatever, I don't foresee a lot of these measures sticking around. The reason for that is because this entire industry is driven by cost. And a lot of these measures are increasing costs. The airlines are not going to fly with empty middle seats. You're not going to have both armrests. Sorry, Brandon. Just it's okay. Just play the mileage game. Get miles, and stuff. And there
just
you
be
go.
crammed in like a sardine. You'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Don't buy
just
basic
motorcycle
economy,
everywhere.
people. Don't buy fucking basic economy.
But it's so cheap.
No, you basically give up everything. Certain airlines don't allow you to crew miles. No, don't. Just don't.
Well, if they want my business, they better get that fixed, huh? They're not, but
Yeah.
be nice. We can dream, can't we?
It's interesting, and there's like a lot of articles are going doom and gloom over it. Another part that really should probably be its own show is reading about how the airflow in the cabin works and how air circulation works, and it's fascinating. The gist of it is, because I'll probably do this as a different episode, is that the airplane itself is actually cleaner than the airport is when it comes to air.
Really?
Yeah.
You're totally going to have to do that. That's actually really interesting. I never would have guessed.
It's super intriguing. Okay, screw it. I'm going to do it right now.
No. Save it. Save it.
Save it.
Okay, fine.
I won't. We need content, damn it. We need content, and that's interesting.
Oh, come on. I can talk about like Taiwan and stuff. That's like 5 episodes in itself.
Well, then save it for the 5 episodes.
All right. Fine. I won't give away all the secrets right now.
Keep your secrets. Fine, then. Keep your secrets. I had a meme. I fucked it up. All right. Well, going with what you said, I'm not obviously an expert in travel at all, but all of these measures that everyone's taking in travel and just general everyday life, it's kind of experimental because it's never really been done at this point in the past. I mean, people always compare this epidemic to the 1918 and all that Spanish flu, but obviously we didn't have airplanes, we didn't have internet, we didn't have everything we have now. Hell, they didn't even realize what was exactly causing it for like 5 years back then. So it's
the fact that it's called the Spanish flu actually indicates how ill-informed we were.
Oh yeah,
regarding the Spanish flu that didn't originate.
Well, someone had to take
Spain.
the blame, and that's the one that stuck for some weird reason.
Sorry, Spain.
Spain.
This is what you get for the Inquisition.
And for the conquistadors.
Yep.
No, screw Spain. I said it. They could take one.
I still love you, Spain. I've never been there. I'm sure you've got some delicious food.
I have flown through Madrid's main airport, whatever Madrid's main airport is. And it's an airport. It's a fact. It is an airport.
Informative. Yeah.
I was like, a 17-year-old kid when I did that. I don't remember. I just wanted to get to my destination because I'm weird. Sorry.
Words of wisdom from Colton.
You're the travel guy, man.
I know. I feel bad because I don't actually know the IATA code for that. Again, Europe is less of my travel focus. But yeah.
Gotta see it all.
Yeah.
One day.
Catch them all. Countries.
Stamps in a passport.
All right, we're singing, so obviously we need to change topics. I think mine is finally over, unless other people have questions or comments about it. Okay. Cool.
No,
super informative. I mean, and it's gonna be. I'm sure we're gonna have a lot of topics here in the next few months about how this whole thing has affected us in ways that we can't even fathom yet. Just because the world's so interconnected, and one little change here will change it a million times down the road, and who knows.
And like I've said many times, it's kind of the theme of COVID is we just don't know. This has never really happened before. The thing is I foresee travel recouping. So does a lot of airlines.
Oh, yeah.
I think Emirates plans on having their entire fleet in the air in 2 years. So, I mean, the sad thing right now is there's a lot of aircraft that will not fly again. Like, it's going to be very difficult to find a 747 that is not something that you can ride in unless you're a pilot or a box.
That's travel of the future. Be in a box.
Be in a box.
Get Amazon shipped. Get that Prime delivery, man. It'll be there in 2 days. It's close enough. They'll even put an air hole in it for you.
Yeah, being attached to the aircraft is unrealistic, but the box is the way to go.
We're talking about real talk here. That's what this is, real talk. That's where the airline industry is going. You record it. It's recorded. In 2 years, you watch.
It would be interesting to see if there's enough maybe waves of this where we recoup, we start traveling more, and then it starts coming back up. If there's enough of those cycles, they probably will look at can we feasibly contain a small area of the plane. That small area is that person's area, and you could see like almost quasi like cryostasis chamber, like
again the
kind
problem,
of individual pods.
Yeah,
but it would
who knows?
massively increase the price,
and you would and you'd have to be able to escape the plane if it was on fire, like that. Like, I think it was a year ago, that Russian aircraft that landed and was half on fire, and half the people didn't survive because they were still people in front of them were like, "Hey, I need my luggage" and stuff. So the other people burnt up because people were
ejector seats. The entire pod just ejects, parachute.
Congratulations!
Can float.
You've now increased the cost of the aircraft by about 100%.
It's solved. It's solved. I don't care what
anyone
says.
Only the elite can fly.
Well, I mean,
they're the ones that are going to try
why
the
not
new
just
technology
make those
first,
all...
to be fair.
Well, why not just make those the luxury suite, and you have your own little area, space, it can fold out.
It's interesting, but in my mind, that is a rather frightening idea because it's going to cause... Like, if we shift more of society on the internet, look at what a terrible place the internet is. And it's really...
It depends on where you go.
I was going to say, there's like 99.78%
4chan!
That's one site.
That's one site.
Facebook.
There's some positives in Facebook. I can't think of any right now, but they're there.
the dog and cat videos.
Dog and cat videos.
So, okay, you're admitting that things on the internet that aren't human related are good.
Well, even some human things are good too. Yeah, I mean,
I guess this podcast.
Have you seen those videos? I think of, is it an Indian guy? He's basically builds entire pool houses out of clay and bamboo, and he builds it himself. He digs the freaking hole.
Yeah.
That's good. That's human ingenuity. See?
Okay.
3 things: cat videos, that guy on the internet, and whatever the third thing was.
You learn so much more about a people, about a culture by actually traveling there rather than, despite all of the Google Street View traveling that you can do in YouTube videos, that's only 2 of your senses. We have 5 senses.
Maybe VR will take off 1 year. 100 years down the road, you can plug literally into it. You sit in your chair, like Wall-E. Basically, or a Matrix. Yeah, it's basically a Matrix. All the senses taken care of.
I don't want your future.
Worst timeline.
You're making me shiver.
Hey, you know what? That's 2021. Who knows? With
Oh,
what
yeah.
this year is already
we
done, I have no freaking clue what's going on.
After
anymore.
we can't go outside because the killer bees.
Murder hornets.
Yeah, murder hornets. Killer bees was like so 1999.
Yeah, there's like I would kill for killer bees.
So what's going to be funny is like 40, 50, 100 years from now, we're going to be looking back on like the utilization of the phrase human malware, which is what a lot of like YouTubers and people that don't want to get demonetized have been calling the corona or COVID-19 virus. There's this huge spike early on, and then there's going to be like nothing, and then we're going to be living in the Matrix Colton timeline, and the human malware is going to like tick back up, and people 100 years from now are going to be like, 2020, what? Why was
they already knew
human
about
malware
this
a thing in 2020? Like when we look back and what was it? There was a funny post on Reddit about hentai, and there was like a little spike like in the 1800s of the utilization of hentai, and then like nothing, and then internet and.
Well, flip book.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing about the internet?
It's a thing on the internet.
Of freedom. It's a part of the internet. You can't argue that.
We've had drawing for a while. Okay,
Rule 34.
This is devolving.
We're ranting.
All right.
Okay.
Drag, let's take us out.
All I'm saying is, like, from all the topics we talk about, the logical conclusion was hentai. I'm just saying. The flow was just a nice smooth flow into degeneracy.
Oh.
Hopefully, like all of our future podcasts.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. Maybe we'll find out.
Indeed. Well, thank you everyone for joining us on our first episode of This Week I Learned. Cody taught us about travel in the near future and how it is both good and bad. I taught you about the camera that can tell if your panties are in a bunch, if you're wearing the right clothing. And Colton told us about a couple of ne'er-do-well programmer and musicians who are creating every melody and copywriting them for open source. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you on the next one.